Hi, this is Ohe, and I started a series titled Unforgiveness, and this is the final episode of that series. So, like I said, if you watched my last video on unforgiveness last week, I talked about boundaries and why it is very important that we create boundaries in order for us to be able to deal with unforgiveness. If you are somebody who um who suffers from unforgiveness when it comes to your relationship with people, and like we all know, as children of God, unforgiveness is sin. You're not supposed to dwell in unforgiveness. And some of the things that leads to this are bitterness and pain, emotional trauma that we did not address or deal with. And why I keep hammering on boundaries is that it's very important for you to have boundaries and to communicate it to the people that you're in a relationship with so that they can know how to deal with you, or so that they can understand if they really want to deal with you, or if you are not the kind of person that they need to deal with. I once had an experience as a publisher. I remember that I was working on a book for someone who was family, and she had financed the project, like she has paid more than half, and we had an agreement that until we complete the project, until my company completes the project, well, that was when she was going to make the final payment, and it was working for me. But alongside, as we kept on working on the project, because it had a lot of dynamics, we had to do transcription and all that. So there were a lot of vendors that were involved in that project. So I kept disbursing money, and the money that she paid was finished at that point, and I needed more. I needed her to finance the project more. So I went back to her and I said, "Oh, ma'am, she's elderly and a close family member." So I said, "Ma'am, this is the situation. Some of my vendors are asking for more money in order to be able to move on with the project." And she told me that no, we had an agreement and that she was not going to finance the project more until we are done. That was what I told her when we started, and that until we are done, she wasn't going to put more money into the project. So I was a bit taken aback. And she told me, she said, she's a pastor. She's more than 30 years in ministry. This is a pastor, a woman of God, a senior pastor of a renowned church. So she told me, she said, some of the people that have hurt her the most are church people. Like when they're doing a project with you, they promise you heaven and earth, and before you know it, they renege on those promises. They don't keep to time, they don't keep to the promise, and they give you maybe a wishy-washy job at the end of the day. And you have already made the full payment, and that she has been dealt with thoroughly with this kind of act, and she made up her mind when it got to a point where she was just hurting from this kind of act that people do towards her. So she had to create a boundary that if she's getting into any form of business with a church person or anybody, as a matter of fact, that whatever it is that has been stipulated as the agreement is what everybody will stand with. And that was what she has been doing in order for her to protect her heart. And when she explained that to me, being someone who believed in boundary at that time, and I started to work on my own personal boundary, immediately I understood her and I knew where she was coming from. So I had to find other means of making sure that things worked until she finally paid when the project was completed, and it was a win-win situation for us all. And if it were somebody if it were somebody else who doesn't understand boundary, the way she told me blatantly, I might be, like, what's wrong with her? Why is she that difficult? But that's a boundary. And this is one of the things that we all need to understand in order for us to protect ourselves. She's a pastor, but she understood what boundary was in order to protect her heart. And if she had not raised that boundary, she might see herself keep falling into bitterness. And before you know it, it will graduate into unforgiveness. So one of the ways by which you can deal with unforgiveness is that you should try and block every way whereby people are going to take advantage of. It's not like it's not going to still happen, but make sure that when it happens, it's not something that would be that will come as a result of your own contribution in order to fuel such action towards you. So it is very important that as children of God, we create boundaries in our lives. Why does the Bible say that we should not commit fornication or adultery? Those are boundaries. Boundaries in order to help you walk in a godly manner and to preserve yourself. So boundaries are extremely scriptural, and please stop getting angry, or when people put up boundaries, stop getting angry. And I need you to understand that the exact people who are angry with you when you put up a boundary are the kinds of people that you don't need in your life. So rather than you getting scared of raising up your boundaries, or you're going to lose people, perhaps you have relationships that you cherish and you're very afraid of losing them, that's why you're not able to create a boundary. No, you don't lose people who are true. when you raise your boundaries. The people that you lose are the opportunists in your life. The people who don't like you, they're just hanging around you because of what they can get from you. You lose manipulators. In fact, boundaries are extremely key, and we shouldn't joke with it because it helps us to filter and to sieve the kinds of people that we bring closer to us in this journey of destiny. So deal with your boundaries, communicate it, and let people understand where you're coming from. And if you're the kind of person that they would still want to deal with, let them deal with you, because at that time, everybody understands boundaries and everybody is working towards helping each other to maintain those boundaries. So sometimes if you are dealing with unforgiveness, it might be a fault of yours, and I do not mean that in a negative manner. I'm just letting you know that it might be coming from the fact that you did not put up your boundary in order to maintain a sane atmosphere around you. Of course, offense will still come because there are some people that their major, one of the things that they love most is to trample upon people's boundaries. Then you will know how to deal with such people, and you will know how to, cut ties with such people. So I want to implore you, peradventure you have had people who have, trampled on your boundaries. They've mistreated you because, or they went against your boundaries. You still have to work in forgiveness. You have to find a way in your heart to forgive them, and you might have to cut them off. And don't feel guilty when you have to let people go. It is part of raising your boundaries. You have to learn how to walk away from things that don't serve you, things that can plunge you into offense. Learn how to walk away from it. It doesn't have anything to do with self-control. As a matter of fact, sometimes you are exercising self-control when you walk away from things despite the benefit that they promise. But because you understand that you have to preserve yourself, you have self-respect, you are working in the place of self-control, it will help you to control the kind of access that you give people around your life. A lot of people are working in bitterness and unforgiveness today because they lack the strength to put up boundaries. I pray that if you are in any unforgiving space regarding anyone now, I find it that you pray for you that you find it in your heart to forgive them, because sometimes, unforgiveness is just simply taking a bitter pill and expecting other people to die from you. You don't need that kind of energy in your life. A lot of people are stagnant today because they're working in unforgiveness. So as a child of God, you don't have to be unforgiving towards anyone. Find a place in your heart to forgive people who have trampled on your boundary, but you still have the right to cut them off if you feel that you don't want to have anything to do with them. And cutting people off does not mean that you're working in unforgiveness. Don't be blackmailed. A lot of Christians might want to blackmail you because they say things like, if you forgive people, then you have to accept them back into your life. No, forgiveness does not mean access. Forgiveness is mandatory, but access is not compulsory. So take good care of yourself, raise your boundaries, communicate so that people will understand where you're coming from, and so that everyone will walk in that knowing towards you. My name is Oluwatosin Olajumoke Arodudu, and if you love this video, please share with your friends so that they can also get to enjoy or get an insight into what you have also enjoyed. Until then, take good care of yourself. Bye.